Most people think heaven fears raw power, claws, fire, monsters in the deep. But Scripture hints at something worse. Before the fall, Lucifer wasn't terrifying because he could fight. He was terrifying because he could influence. He could stand close to authority and make rebellion feel like wisdom. So, here's the question. What kind of power could make angels tremble without ever drawing a sword? We begin where light feels unwelcome, beneath the surface, where pressure crushes everything fragile. In Job's poetry, Leviathan is described like a living fortress, armored scales, unbothered by weapons, breathing like a furnace in the imagination of the text. Not a pet, not a problem to solve, a reminder, because Leviathan doesn't simply represent an animal. It represents untamable chaos, creation's wild edge that only the Creator can command. Even holy messengers, creatures made for order, recognize something they were never assigned to control. And that's the first clue. Heaven trembles, not just at evil, but at anything that proves how small every created power really is. If Leviathan is the terror below, Behemoth is the terror beside us. Job places it on land, massive, unhurried, unstoppable, a creature that eats calmly, yet feels like a moving mountain. Rivers don't panic it, storms don't relocate it. It simply is. And here is where things turn dark in a surprising way. Behemoth isn't framed as wicked. It's framed as unanswerable, a living monument to the fact that God's world contains strengths that don't ask for our permission. Angels, who carry messages and enforce boundaries, would understand that implication instantly. Some things are not battles, they are limits, and Behemoth is a limit with a heartbeat. Now we go higher, into visions that don't read like nature, but like a different category of reality. Ezekiel and Revelation both describe beings near God's throne that defy human anatomy. Multiple faces, wings, movement like lightning, and the strangest detail of all, eyes everywhere. These beings don't exist to explore. They exist to behold, to see what no creature should see, and survive. And if you want to understand why that would make even angels tremble, consider this. Most angels are sent. These beings are stationed. They don't deliver messages. They guard the threshold of glory. Their fear isn't aggression. Isaiah's vision pulls the camera even closer. Seraphim, burning ones, hover in the presence of God with 6 wings. And the detail that changes everything is not their fire, it's what they do with it. They cover their faces, they cover their feet. They speak holiness like it's the only safe language in that room. The closer a being is to God, the less casual it becomes. Even a creature made for flame treats glory like something that can overwhelm you if you approach it the wrong way. So if angels tremble here, it's not because the seraphim are violent. It's because they reveal a truth that unravels pride. In the presence of the holy, every created thing becomes painfully aware of what it is not. In a few scattered passages, Scripture uses the word Rephaim for ancient dead ones, figures linked to an older era of terror, remembered with unease. They appear like a silent audience in the realm of the dead, rising in mock recognition when rulers fall. Not monsters with teeth, something worse, memory that won't die. If Leviathan is chaos and Behemoth is weight, the Rephaim are haunting, a reminder that some judgments don't roar, they linger. And angels who understand order would sense the spiritual danger of that. Not an enemy you can strike, but an atmosphere that poisons courage. This is the point where most stories do what you expect. They say, Lucifer was the greatest, the strongest, the highest. But that's not the most frightening reading. Because Scripture's most unsettling hints about Lucifer, drawn from prophetic imagery people often connect to his fall, Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28, don't emphasize brute force. They emphasize status, beauty, position, access. Lucifer's danger wasn't that he could overpower heaven. It was that he could stand near the throne's environment and still turn his gaze inward. He wasn't terrifying because he was a dragon. He became a dragon because of what he did before he ever looked like one. Revelation describes a bottomless pit, an abyss sealed until a specific moment, and a figure tied to it, Abaddon, destroyer. Notice the difference. Abaddon isn't presented like a chaotic beast. He's presented like a warden of ruin, a ruler over judgment that is released on a schedule, not in a tantrum. That should chill you, because it implies heaven has locked doors, and heaven has keys, and heaven has beings assigned to things we don't even want to imagine. Angels tremble here, not because he is louder than they are, but because he represents inevitability. Genesis gives only a few lines, but they land like a shadow over the whole early world. A blurred moment where sons of God and daughters of men are placed in the same sentence, and afterward, the Nephilim are named. Whatever interpretation you hold, the emotional point is clear. A boundary was crossed, and the result was not harmony. It was corruption, violence filling the earth. This isn't just about giants. It's about what happens when the sacred is treated like a toy. Angels would fear this story because it proves something devastating. You don't need hell to ruin a world. You just need the wrong desire, in the wrong place, with the wrong access. And access brings us back to Lucifer. Revelation's beast rises from the sea with crowns and blasphemous names, an image of empire, authority, and domination. But its scariest weapon isn't its horns, it's adoration. The world doesn't just submit, the world marvels. And that's the nightmare. Evil that doesn't arrive with terror, but with charisma. This is where fear becomes psychological, because the beast is not simply an enemy out there. It is a portrait of how easily humans can confuse power with worth and authority with truth. And in that sense, the beast is a shadow of Lucifer's original threat, persuasion at the highest level. Finally, Revelation shows the dragon, ancient serpent imagery amplified into cosmic scale, a being so violent that stars fall with him. War breaks out in heaven, a conflict that feels less like a fight and more like an expulsion of poison. The dragon is terrifying. Yet, the most chilling part is that he was not always a dragon. He was once close enough to holiness to know its language, close enough to the throne's environment to understand how loyalty works, close enough to leadership to understand how to reshape it. So what was the power that made pride feel holy? Not fire, not strength, not a monster's roar. Lucifer's true power before the fall was the ability to weaponize identity, to take a gift like beauty, purpose, calling, and turn it into a mirror, to make a created being say, quietly, convincingly, I deserve more. That is why heaven treated him like a contagion, because if a being that close to glory could believe that lie, then any mind could. And that's why Michael matters as a contrast, not because of spectacle, but posture. Even his name is a refusal of the mirror. Who is like God? Not who is like me.